Jim, on that topic, I have a list here in front of me. These are the reported trademarks that have been filed by Chris Jericho.
Oh, boy.
Trying to get to the top of this is a big list.
The list of Jericho trademarks.
Well, let's get your thoughts on some of these trademarks. Hi Guys, recently trademarked.
How can you trademark Hi Guys?
The Jericho Vortex has been trademarked, as well as the Learning Tree and the Educator.
The Educator.
The Rarefied Air of Jericho has been trademarked, as well as Seek and Destroy,
What the?
Jericho Juice, and Judas Juice. This next one's interesting.
Wait a minute, Brian, you know, before we go any further with the list, you know as well as I do, because we both trademarked some things. It's not free. You can't just say, I want to file that. You have to fill out paperwork, pay somebody to do it, a filing fee, etc., depending on how far you want to go with it or how, how narrowed down you want it to be for goods and services, whatever. It's ongoing. How much money is he spending just to indulge all of these goofy ideas he's having? Is any of this ever going to be monetized?
Probably not, but there also are friendly wrestling attorneys who just want to be around the wrestler, so they'll do some stuff, and specifically around trademarks, from what I've heard. Gas Wrestling, under trademark. Gas Wrestling.
Gas wrestling? What, wrestling that gives you gas? What is gas wrestling?
Or everyone's on steroids. I'd like to see that. The Jericho Era is under trademark.
How about the Jericho Error?
Well, no, that's not this one. This is the Jericho Era. This was trademarked in November 2023. The Golden Jets. You may remember that tag team of him and Kenny Omega, I think.
Yeah, but then they were broken up for the Golden Lovers, Ibushi and Olivier, so that they could be in adjoining hospital beds recovering on Tony's dime.
Also filed for trademark by Chris Jericho in 2023. Babyface Assassin Productions. Babyface
Limited.
Assassin. Also, I don't know what this is. One word. Duck Trillion. Duck Trillion. One word. Not sure what that was. Maybe a bender. But these two, this is an interesting concept from May of 2023. Fozzy Fest or Foz Fest. I guess he couldn't decide, and he hadn't used any.
Well, it wasn't hard for Ozzy to decide. Why is it hard for him to decide?
Before that, in 2023, the first filing of the year was for Jericho, the purported tag team of him and the Big Show, I believe.
That went a long way. They went down in history with Bockwinkel and Stevens.
Here are some interesting ones. In 2022, Christery.
Wait a minute, that's Kiss's fucking.
No, that's Kistery. This is Christery, not Kistery.
But it's the same goddamn thing.
A money grab? Maybe. What about Seltzer Man? Seltzer Man.
Seltzer Man?
I guess when you have to sober up. Here comes the Seltzer Man. You watch his matches and it gives you indigestion and you need a seltzer? What about Bromide Man? How about good Lord. The same day
Metamucil Man.
The same day he filed for Christery, he also filed for This Day in Christery. Also, he filed for the Ring of Jericho and Chris Jericho's Blood Boat. Blood Boat.
Wait a minute. I know he does the cruises, but do you want to go on a cruise where it's entitled the Blood Boat? Especially with the history of cruise ships and having outbreaks of various diseases of ill repute?
Maybe you should trademark the Chris Jericho blood test with that. But also here, the Ocho. You remember the Ocho? That was in October of 2022. The Ocho.
Yes, he had done something 8 times.
Also, in 2022, the Watch. The Watch. The Wizard. You remember the Wizard?
Remember the Wizard? What, after the Ocho, shouldn't he have been the Nacho? What's 9?
Sure. Well, this is technically before that. We're going backwards.
We're going backwards. So is he.
Well, you may remember these two from March of 2022, JAS and Jericho Appreciation Society.
Boy, how could we forget those? That was a big pill to swallow.
The influencer. The influencer.
A lot of people want to be those, I understand.
Here's another one you may remember from its brief run before John Moxley spoiled that. GFY. GFY, you remember that?
Yeah, and for the younger listeners, Jericho trademarked and was going to make an interview deal out of GFY, which basically stands for Go Fuck Yourself. And the same week on TV, Moxley just had Tourette's and blurted out on television for no apparent purpose, "Oh, go fuck yourself." And it kind of put the damper on that. Mr. Blanket, first name Wet.
We are now in 2021. There's an image here, the symbol, the image of Chris Jericho as the Painmaker with his hat and his Alice Cooper makeup and his spiky jacket and everything else there. God of War. God of War was trademarked in 2021, as well as the Rock of Jericho.
Oh.
The Rock of Jericho. Come on. A name from the past, Corazon de Leon. Trademark, that was his name in CMLL, yeah.
I can see that. He actually campaigned and competed under that name.
Not sure about this next one, Clint Bobski.
What?
Clint Bobski. Clint, the name Clint, and then Bobski, Bob, Bobski.
Did he have like another idea for a stooge like Ralphus? Or
I'm not sure, but obviously things changed from what he thought in the past, because the next one from 2020, Million Viewer Man.
No!
That hasn't aged so well. The Million Viewer Man, Chris Jericho.
He wouldn't be able to give the supporting documentation on that one to get that trademark pushed through.
Here's an interesting one. Mimosa Mayhem. That was the match he had with Orange Cassidy. It was an AEW match. What do you think of AEW allowing the wrestler to trademark the gimmick they used on their show?
You know what, I bet you? Now, I don't know anything. I don't know it for a fact, so you ain't heard it from me, but knowing that Tony Khan is predisposed to be entertained in his childlike mind with whatever's going on up there by that fucking goof Pockets, and he dressed up like the idiot for Halloween, and he books him to beat everybody in the company, legitimate wrestlers, and he puts him on TV constantly. And it was never funny to begin with, and it's long past stale. But Jericho saw that and said, not only am I going to come up with Orange Cassidy's signature match like Wahoo and the strap match or Ivan Koloff and the chain match, but then I'm going to trademark it so every time Tony books one for his favorite little comedy figure, he's got to pay me something. Do you think that's what he was doing? But it was such a stinker, they never had another one?
I think you could argue to this day that no one has better manipulated Tony Khan for their own benefit than Chris Jericho in AEW history. So I don't know. But we have more.
I'd like to say the Hardley boys are giving him competition there, but go ahead. Let's hear more.
He gets more money than they do. The Painmaker, you may remember the Painmaker.
Yes.
Demo God. Remember when that was a thing?
I remember that.
Doesn't really brag about that one anymore. Now he's the bathroom line god. The Wheel Blocks. The Wheel Blocks from 2020.
The Wheel Blocks.
Not sure. Thank God we never found out what this is. Gig Pigs. Gig Pigs. Are those what he calls his ring rats? The Gig Pigs?
That man, you know what? There you go. They're the girls that like Fozzy and wrestling, and they come to both of his gigs.
Well, here's some interesting ones during the pandemic. Grains and Greens. Grains and Greens. And then, and I'll spell it for you, Quarantine.
They used to be one of our sponsors, didn't they? Or that was another type
That was a
of
different
greens.
company. Well, here's another one, and I'll spell this one out for you in a moment. Quarantine. 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 During the pandemic, that's what we needed, a wrestler named Quarantine. Also, there's a few more here, Jim. The Bubbly Bunch. The Bubbly Bunch.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Also, Flim Flam. Flim
Boy.
Flam.
Now, I'll tell you, nobody in that company has a fucking copyright on Flim Flam. They're all practitioners.
There's still more. The podcast he used to do, Talk is Jericho. I don't know if he still does it, actually, maybe. Talk is Jericho. That's trademarked. That makes sense. Also, the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea.
That makes sense. It's very long, but it's what he does on his blood boat.
Fozzy. He owns the trademark to Fozzy, according to this.
Well, because everybody in the band is all they are the musicians. Nobody knows who they are, so he's the star.
Painmaker Posse. The Painmaker Posse. Any thoughts if that would have worked?
I'd like to see if they would misspell that just a little bit on the application, like AEW did on one of its applications before, so we could get the Painmaker Pussy.
Well, shortly after AEW started, October, or on TV at least, October 2019, he trademarked two things, the Painmaker and the Inner Circle. You may remember that.
The first big group that he was able to sap energy and life-sustaining force off of.
A few more here, a little bit of the bubbly, Rock and Wrestling Rager, and finally Chris Jericho. He owns the trademark to Chris Jericho.
Well, that one was probably easy. I don't know if anybody's fighting him over that one these days.
You know, it's one thing if you're going to use these things in commerce. It's another thing if you're just trademarking anything that comes into your head. It's not the way it's supposed to work. But any thoughts on this? And
well, yes, again, it takes time and effort. And even if he's got some mark doing it for him for nothing, that's a lot of shit to go through for just vague concepts and blurted out words, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I didn't give credit to the person who sent this in. Danny in Wigan, England, or Wigan, England.
Wigan?
Excuse me.
You, of all people, can't pronounce Wigan?
I haven't seen it in a while. Wigan, England. And that's...
If Billy Riley had his way, you wouldn't see it at all.